On a given day, we'll have 5 or 6 annunciators lit up at once, usually both telephone lines and somebody holding.
The problem is getting through to the dispatchers. You're either on hold or the phone's busy.
There are so many requests, and everybody's request has a priority. You just can't work fast enough to take care of everybody's problems all at the same time.
We usually have that sense of urgency where the crews are just sitting here doing nothing. When we can't get a hold of the dispatcher, we try and get him, and sometimes it's 15, 20 minutes before he even picks up his phone.
They don't realize that I have 300 miles of radios ringing at one time.
I don't put you on hold because I don't think your job is important, or I don't think you're important. I try to get to everybody on an equal basis, and if we work together, we can make things a lot smoother.
Communication is a critical link in any transportation system, and like air traffic controllers, Southern Pacific dispatchers are responsible for safely monitoring and coordinating the movement of trains and maintenance of way operations within the territory they manage. At SP's centralized dispatch center in Denver, up to 35 dispatchers work round the clock to oversee SP's main line throughout the United States. The dispatch center is arranged so that dispatchers sit in areas which group them in the territory they manage. For example, the dispatcher who handles the territory between Houston and Flatonia sits next to the dispatcher who handles the area between Hearne and San Antonio. As the day progresses, territories may be combined or divided depending on traffic. That's why communication may sometimes seem difficult during a shift change. Each dispatcher handles a territory which may contain CTC, DTC, or double track. The screens at their console display a representational model of the actual main line, sidings, interchanges, and signals within their territory.
Hello, Colton.
Color-coded lines allow the dispatcher to keep track of different activity in the territory, eastbound and westbound trains, and joint and sole track authorizations. Voice communication between the dispatcher and train crews, as well as all maintenance of way personnel, is processed through a central communication system.
Dispatcher 48.
A touchscreen computer allows the dispatcher to pick up phone calls and radio calls. Some dispatchers have as many as 20 signal towers in their area sending in calls simultaneously. An automatic queuing device holds each call in the order they are received. Unfortunately, there's no way of knowing who is on the line or what the caller needs until the dispatcher can access the call. Dispatchers can, however, tell the general location of the call by the display on their monitor.
There's 11 radio channels that we monitor on this job. We can't monitor all those radios at one time. They're set up on annunciators. You can't always hear people when they're calling you. All we see is the light flash on.
The dispatcher's call button is activated by the encoder in the radio transmitter. Employees whose radios don't have an encoder can also activate the call button by using a tuning fork. Once the call button is activated, it stays on until the dispatcher can answer it. Activating the encoder multiple times doesn't get the call answered faster.
I could have as many as 5 or 6 or maybe all of them on at one time, and I don't know which radio to answer. So if they would ring one time and give me a chance to answer, it would be the quickest way.
The computer enables a dispatcher to manage traffic and maintenance of way operations within his or her territory.
Speed 42, over.
This is DT-20 Harcum at Dragoon. Can I get a little bit of time between East Switch Tully and the West Switch Dragoon to cross a piece of equipment over, say 5 minutes max, over?
GT-20, standby, over.
As information is taken from each caller, the dispatcher enters the request on the computer, which establishes the protection or sets the signal route. There are built-in fail-safe mechanisms to prevent accidents.
Speed GT-20 after the arrival of the SSW 7656 West, track and time number 42580, granted on main track between East Dragoon and East Tully until 4:05 p.m., over.
Okay, after the arrival of the SSW 7656 West, track and time Number 42580 from the East Switch Dragoon to the East Switch at Tully until 4:05 p.m. Over.
The GT20, that is correct. I'll just hold that work train at the East Switch till you clear your time. Over.
All right, thank you very much. DT20 out.
Once track authority is granted, the computer prevents dispatchers from issuing conflicting authority.
62 over.
Space 62 over.
This is Ike Peterson at Roseville, California, RE2. I'd like to request track and time now on the main line between switch 5 and switch 11. Over.
Okay, you want it between the 5 and the 11 switch? Over.
Yes, between the 5 and 11 switch.
ST detector, milepost 30.8, track number 239.
Okay, RE2, track and time number 62533, granted on the main track between the 11 switch Antelope and the 5 switch Roseville until 11 a.m. Over.
When a dispatcher needs to grant or release track authority on the computer, a specific set of communication instructions must be followed.
Space 62 over.
This is CFW2, Welder Garden, releasing my track and time number 62538 between East Emeryville and CP Shellmont at 12:34 p.m. Over.
CFW2, track and time number 62538 is released at 12:34 p.m. Over.
That is correct. Thank you much. Out.
Okay, thank you. SB 62 out.
It's essential that communications between dispatchers and maintenance of way and crews are exact.
If I'm granting them time, they repeat what I've given them, and I tell them that is correct. But the critical part of releasing or getting is that is correct. Without it, it doesn't count.
But dispatchers are responsible for more than just granting track authority. They determine which trains have priority, plan the overall operation of their district, and protect any unforeseen track conditions.
7634 west, do not exceed 40 mph.
In addition, dispatchers must also keep a listing of all train identification, number of cars, maximum speed, horsepower per ton, crew status, and restricted equipment. They are responsible for getting trains and crews to their destination safely and on time, in accordance with company, federal, and state rules and regulations.
Amtrak is on the move, and those two eastbounds are following him.
All of this work goes on simultaneously. Trains are called, track authority is granted, detector information is collected, train priorities are determined, and a lot of administrative work is handled too. All this while the calls are coming in.
We got helpers out here that we need to monitor their location, their hours of service. We have to monitor the inbound and outbound calls into terminals. All that's on top of answering the telephones and answering the radios.
There are also the unexpected conditions of weather, radio malfunctions, or derailments. This further adds to the dispatcher's responsibilities.
They got a hold of me, and then you got to get a hold of the emergency equipment and get them on the scene. Of course, you got to let the people in the back room know, the assistant chiefs and the chiefs. Got to call signal maintainers, go out and check the crossing out. You know, that's just for one incident right there.
Throughout the day, a dispatcher is the most vital communication link between the operations of trains and maintenance of way workers. As productivity demands in the field increase, communication between dispatchers and maintenance of way workers becomes more and more critical. For safety and efficiency, maintenance of way employees need to communicate accurate and up-to-the-minute information to the dispatch center while maintaining the highest track standards. And dispatchers need to constantly be aware of conditions and situations out in the field while keeping operations safely on schedule. As our business continues to grow, with increased speed and efficiency, communication between maintenance of way employees and dispatchers becomes an essential link in keeping Southern Pacific safe and profitable.